Scott, thanks for coming back on, mate. How are you keeping?
Brand new, bro, not a bother.
You wanted to come back on to do the 7 deadly sins and go through these. What is the 7 deadly sins? Just to brief people on what you want to speak about.
This is like agendas. Do you understand? These are things that you need to know in order to have like a beautiful experience. They make you better, sharper. Do you understand? Addiction people have to crack cocaine and heroin. They're all destroyed, those kids. And in the future, the people that were selling it, they're going to get it as well. It happened to me over years. Imagine what they're in for selling crack cocaine to someone's children. I'm telling you, you're out there and you want to make money. Do not go outside the boundaries of selling probably hash, weed, pollen, or your bit of coke. There's no point in me telling you any lies. Coke is an absolutely monstrous quality in this lifetime. But washing it into crack cocaine and selling heroin, you're asking to bring absolute severe, we mean severe, bad karma into your family because you brought it to somebody else's. Don't be shouting and riding with each other when trouble starts. If you are calm and your neighbour's getting sick and swinging the garden saying, they're back in the area. If the cops aren't driving down there because things are calm, you're going to make an awful lot more money. So no matter where you live, once you're calm with people, if somebody is jealous of you and disrespects you, and blood is boiling and you want to kill them or something like that, remember, you have a superhuman power. You remain calm, okay? There's more than one way to skin a cat. When things settle down, you can get that person the way they disrespected you. I've had problems with people over the years. I've leave them for months and get them sorted. Now I'm trying to get close to pretend you're a friend to rip you off. Do you understand? If people ain't scrutinised and you let them near you, they're probably just going to ruin their life. In 1996, I walked into a pub on the north side of Dublin. I had to where I was in there with people I knew. And I was all right with everybody in Dublin. We didn't bother anything. But it was like some of the biggest grasses in this country was in that pub watching what I was doing.
Right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Before you watch this podcast, make sure you hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified on my future content. If you want to go follow me on other social medias, all the links for all my other social medias can be found in the comment section and description of this podcast. That's my Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, my Rumble, and my Getter. If you want to go and subscribe to Scott's channel, the link for his channel can also be found in the comment section and description of this video. We do not promote violence or crime on this channel. Scott has come on to talk about his experiences in the criminal underworld, and no way, shape or form do we promote criminality. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. Enjoy this podcast. Peace out. Scott, thanks for coming back on, mate. How are you keeping?
Brand new, bro, not a bother.
You wanted to come back on to do the 7 deadly sins and go through these. What is the 7 deadly sins? Just to brief people on what you want to speak about.
This is like agendas. Do you understand? These are things that you need to know in order to have like a beautiful experience. They make you better, sharper. Do you understand? You want to live in the underworld. There's certain things that you need to do. What happens is, I see a lot of kids in Dublin and they don't know what they're doing. They're selling around, rocks here and there and bits of gate and that. And really, like, that's another world to the one we grew up in. Before you know it, these kids are destroyed going around the place. So, if you want to live in that underworld, you'd want to be really, really sharp. There's certain things that you need to go by. You need your mindset to be like your beautiful mind. You need it to be better. You know what I'm saying? If you don't do this, I would imagine you're going to end up in prisons all your life, or you're going to end up a drug addict. Do you understand? The 32 counties right now are that bad with drugs. I'd rather be dead than live the way they're living. Like, there's over 140,000 heroin and crack cocaine addicts in the south of Ireland alone. That's 140,000 plus. And most of these were kids that probably wanted to be gangsters, like, you know, sell rocks before you know it. They're addicts themselves. Do you understand? As far as I'm concerned, that world is only for a certain breed of people. So I want to run by 7 things here, which are 7 different agendas. You need to keep these in your mind all the time. Yeah? If you do what I say, I guarantee you, you'll get through that underworld and be able to have a normal life with your wife, children, grandchildren, and please God, probably die of natural causes with your wife in your 90s. You know what I'm saying? Not a drug addict, because has a bad problem right now with hard drugs. The United Kingdom and America is like 10 times worse. I mean, I could tell you stories and you wouldn't believe them, you know. Before I start, I just want to explain something to you. Recently, I spoke to 12 people, okay? And these were like really up the ladder in Ireland and the United Kingdom in crime. And one of them was over in Holland. So I asked the 12 of them, I says, what do you think, look, at the underworld? If you had some advice, I says that I'd like to do on a podcast, what would you say? Okay? So Joey Pyle, he was like the biggest gangster in United Kingdom history. Joey was like the main shot caller alongside Freddie Foreman and that, you know what I mean? But his son, Mitchell, he's a gentleman, he's a lovely fella. I love Mitch, he's a lovely guy, you know. I sent him a message and says, what would you say? He said, Scott, he said, I tell them to get a job, he said, to get an education and just live your life without having to go to prisons. He says, the way things were when we were kids, he says, they're not like that anymore. He said, as soon as someone gets in trouble these days, they try and rip you off or stick you in the neck instead of them, he says. He said, that's the way things are, he says. He said, it ain't the way it used to be. You're safer with an education or a trade. Now, that's Joey Pyle's son said that.
And is that with the 7 deadly sins that you're going to speak about soon? Do you think though would they still sort of apply to today then? Because obviously you're going to be talking about things, your experiences. So if somebody implemented this into their life, maybe they can't get out of that world. They're stuck in that world. They don't know what to do. Would that still apply? These 7 deadly sins still apply to this modern day age?
Yeah, the would. Yeah, what just like about like I want to about things like never give up your location, how to remain calm. I give you my opinion on the guard, how I will imagine that you should spend your life hiding from. Do you understand? Just 7 things like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Some people might like them, some people wouldn't. But I do think if you want to live in that world, if you're from the south of Ireland, Northern Ireland, you should listen to what I say. Because I know there's an awful lot of things that I don't like. Do you understand? Now, the boys these days don't want to be big hash dealers or big ecstasy dealers. They're selling the rock, which is absolutely annihilating the place. Like, do you understand? I mean, that's not the world I lived in. But,
yeah. Well, definitely there is an element now to the North and the Republic where, you say the rock, and you've got heroin, and you've got, there's other ones across the world like fentanyl. But just speaking in Ireland, I've noticed that there's a massive decline in the people, the way that, with the drug use, especially up here now. In Belfast, it's just rife now. It's ripping through the country. And, once again, I have to say this, we're not glorifying that side of life. We're not glorifying the underbelly of society. If there's a chance that you can get out of things and make a better life for yourself, do it. But there's a lot of people, Scott, and we had these conversations, that can't get out of that world, and they're stuck in that world, and their communities are being ruined. So do you want to start off with the first one?
Yeah, no problem. As I was saying, is, really, if you want to live in that world, yeah, the first thing you want to do, I have a quotation here that I told you before. It's called the cutest hen lays out, yeah? And really what that means is a person that sits in the background, okay? Don't ever give anybody your location. Say, if you're living with your mother in Dunamid, yeah, and you're making money around Dublin, don't have anybody near your home. Don't have no one near your mother's gaff or anything like that. Don't have no one near your girlfriend's house. Only your own people. Do you understand? So if you want to go out the weekend, if you want to live in that world, I'm telling you, it's 100 times safer Don't be having no one near your home. Never have the guards familiar with driving past your house and see a gang of yumpers in your garden. And don't have yourself or anybody can be knocking into your house, putting pressure on you, leeching off you, or trying to talk you into doing things you don't want to do. So the number one way of doing things, if you had an apartment somewhere and you were making a few quid in Ireland, say you had an apartment probably over in Tala, and you were working with gangs on the north side, you're going to live a normal life. You're going to avoid yourself year in, year out. You're going to avoid problems every day. Do you understand? And by doing that, the cutest hand lays out means that you're hiding from it and you only make a move whenever you feel like it. Do you understand? So basically what happens is, if you're up in Tala and your work is going on the north side of Dublin, you're never going to have anybody at your door leeching off you, mooching off you, near you listening to your conversations on the phone that could grass you up. You don't have anybody putting pressure on you. Everyday problems like getting arrested, nicked, getting your car stopped, searched, people watching what you're doing close to you, that could be grasses. They can't get near you. You understand? And you'll have yourself a normal life. In 10 years' time, 15 years' time, when you look back and you've seen other gangs falling apart all over Dublin, or people in and out of prisons, you're going to say to yourself, he was right with what he was saying. We used to hide from everybody. Paddy Mitchell had me very, very fine-tuned. You understand? I know I had some problems here and there, but never had many. Like I'm 49 in a few days' time, and I haven't got one enemy in Dublin. I'm not fighting anybody there. And I can tell you that place is hard. You know what I'm saying? We would say that's very good for the age I am, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, there's something to be said about that. The living the life that you've lived in the past and to not have enemies today, that's a credit to yourself, because that underworld of Dublin is ruthless. It's probably one of, looking into a few situations around the world, the Dublin underworld is definitely one of the most brutal, and it's good that you've got to this stage without any enemies. The thing about it is, what you've said there about basically keeping yourself to yourself, not shitting on your own doorstep. Basically, don't bring any of that attention to your own doorstep, to your family or any of that, and always try to work far afield to get sort of not work in your local area, so you don't have people coming to your door bringing unneeded attention to yourself. I suppose logically thinking that's probably the best way to live, isn't it?
You never ever give people your location. Do you understand? If you're telling people, if someone asks you, where are you now? And you could be out in Hout talking to somebody at the pier. If someone rings up and asks you where you're at, I would say I'm in Kildare for a few hours. I'm in another county. I would never, ever tell anyone where I was. And when you're moving, you move on your own people. You see your most valuable men, who was like your unit. You make sure they have their own cars. You drive around on your own and make your phone calls on your own. Never have anybody sitting beside you listening to who you're talking to, because jealousy will start at any time at all with a person. A person will hear you having a few grand, they won't like that, and jealousy will start. When that starts in somebody, it's never going to go away. Do you understand? I've had people getting jealous of me, and I know for a fact if I was shot dead, I'd be unhappy. These are people like Whooper. Jealousy is what got me done in 1996, and is what ruined my life. Do you understand? That's jealousy for you.
Yeah,
people,
I get that. I think to a certain degree, would you be worried about having, if you're in that world and you're not making the phone calls yourself, you're always bringing people to your door, would you be worried about informants too, working for the Garda?
Yeah, that's what got to me. In 1996, I used to use a place called Malahide to hide my ecstasy, you know what I mean? A lot of times I'd be out there, but the cops from Dublin City Centre, Star Street Garda Station, they moved the crew out of heavy detectives to catch me. and they put them based in Malahide Guard Station. And I was seeing one of them walking around, and I thought to myself, he's from Star Street, you know what I mean? And another fella drove by me in the car, and I seen him dropping his walkie-talkie. So I knew they were out there following me, but I didn't realise what was going on. They were after catching a fella in Malahide with ecstasy, a small, tiny little amount, and he caught another fella in Portmanic that was mixing heroin in his mother's hotel out there. And the both of these turned over and approached me, sitting beside me, listening to me talking to me mates. Now, I'd known these a long time, but I didn't realise it. Over something small, the two of these were at the flipping. So if I sat in front of them and I was talking to like in front of Yorkie or somebody else, if I was talking about 20, 30,000 ecstasy tablets, or I was talking about a murder in Dublin, these would have listened to what I was saying, went back, told the cops, and hung me that bad. I probably would have got years in prison straight away. There was one of them apartment, one of them on my quit. This wasn't right with them. So my mates' houses got raided, and I knew they were after doing it. So it was like a wake up call I got, you know what I'm saying? These are blokes that used to be at parties with me, sitting beside me talking to me. Two of them were sent out to try and get me with 10, 15 years in prison. And for a small little amount of drugs they were prepared to put me away nearly for like fucking 10, 15 years. How bad these grasses are. When getting near you, that's the damage some of these fellas do. Have to go to prison themselves. You didn't have anybody know where you're, and you were moving around.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. You know, to be in that situation, and that alone should be a deterrent for young fellas looking at this, going, do you know what? You know, it's all good looking at the music videos, looking at all the money that people have, but realistically, you've got all this money, but you're thinking, is your friend going to grass on you? Are people going to shot me into the cops here? You know, are they going to do me for money? You know, it's not really a life to live, is it? You know. So what's the second one then?
The second one will be about your unit, who you select around you. Okay, selecting these people to work with means you have to scrutinise people. If you want to live in that underworld, okay, have nobody near you at all. You need to be very, very dedicated. The drugs world or the criminal world, you can make as much money as you want. You'll have a whole lot of money. Do you understand? But you let one bad person near you and you're going to fucking lose everything you have. And I can tell you that now. You let somebody near you that is not good quality. Do you understand? If the person can't go to prison, if he's a grass, if he gets jealous of you, if he's not smart enough like a little money maker. Do you understand? If he gets like that and makes mistakes and gives your name, you're probably going to end up in prison for a long time and lose everything you have. So in order to be on top of things, you need to have a proper unit around you. You need to select 2 or 3 people or 4 people in Dublin that you know are really, really cut with a fine cloth. You select these guys like the way you would select your wife. Do you understand? If they're not 100%, get rid of them and get a normal job, because I'm telling you, sooner or later they're going to ruin your life if they're not good quality. Make sure your unit are people that are like your best friends growing up, people that you were in junior infants with in school who you always got on with. I'm nearly 50, I'm 49 in a few days, and I still talk to people on a regular basis that I know since I come out of a nappy. Do you understand? People that I went to Clester Tech with, Chanel College with. I still talk to people in other countries that I was even in prison with. Certain people has your back in this lifetime. Do you understand? Your unit needs to be like an extra 3 of them. If it's not, get a job. Don't be involved in crime, because I'm telling you, sooner or later, when the starts over money, small amount of drugs, or someone having to go to prison, these boys will ruin your life if they're not proper quality. Do you understand?
And just on that note though, Scott. So just say I'm a young fella. I'm speaking to pick Scott. You're in your heyday. I want to join the group. What process do I go through? You trust me. You know that I'm okay, but you want to know If I'm the type of person that's going to speak, that's going to get jealous, that I'm going to, maybe I'm going to join another team. What process is there? What do you put me through to verify me as a person in your group?
You'd want to scrutinise a person, yeah? Say he's from Sheriff Street. He'd ring girls in Sheriff Street and ask them, what's the family like? He'd say, like, what would you like down up? Rip off, imagine, is he a rat? And all them ones down there, you know, I know with this person. And they tell you what he's like since he's grown up, yeah? Another thing I do, I bring them up to, say, Wheatfield Prison, yeah? About 7 o'clock in the morning, sitting in the car beside you. And then I watch the doors of Wheatfield opening and closing. I wouldn't be giving them drink or drugs, and I keep them there speaking to them for hours and talking about prisons. And you see in their face whether they're going to be able for jail or not. Keep them there till 11 o'clock at night. Tell them and anyone on this planet in front of you whether they're cut out for that. Because if they can't sit easy in that car looking at a prison, they're going to realise that they're afraid to go in there.
So that equals then if they think that they're going to do prison time, they're going to maybe grass on you to get a reduced sentence.
That's the way it is, bro. You sit somebody in your car in the car park facing Clover Hill at 7 o'clock in the morning and sit there and talk to them through the day. And you probably won't be able to sit in the car. You probably want to crack up and go home. You probably start screaming for a joint or a bottle of Captain Morgan or something. Do you understand? Because in prison, they're not going to have these things. Do you understand? Because that's right.
I understand.
Winter. You're not able for that. You've seen that piece of wheat. Get rid of it. You ain't going to do jail, bro.
So there you go. Number 2, make sure that the people that are around you are scrutinized and verified people. Number 3, what's number 3?
So number 2 would be a unit. Okay, just saying, like.
Number 3, sorry. Number 3.
Who's near you, you scrutinise them. Because if you don't, you mess up, they're probably going to be the cause you have gone to prison for a long time.
Yeah. So what's number 3 then? Number 3.
That's like having a beautiful mind. Okay? You need to realise that the people that you get involved with are on the same page as you. These agendas here. You understand? When you sit down with somebody, make sure that they understand things like, if you're looking at them, you watch to see, is this a person that's going to go to prison? Is this a person that's going to do like 8 years and serve 6.5 years in prison? You watch these things, you understand? You watch if they're a money man, that they're good with money. You watch yourself, and you think to yourself, is this fella got a handle? Is he all right? These are like agendas in your mind. And watching somebody, you need to understand that the person needs to be on the same page as you. It's not just some warrior jumping in front of you that wants to make quick money. You need to be around proper quality people. Do you understand? These jumpers need to be money made with business people. Do you understand? You need to do jail. You understand? And another thing is mellow as the air. You need to be very calm. And trouble starts, you have to go into a different gear and probably become like an assassin or a hitman. Now, I'm not saying be going out and getting yourself a life sentence, but you need people around you that's going to put the work in. Do you understand? I'll explain some of the different things in a few minutes, but make sure that people you get involved with have like beautiful minds. You understand?
Would it be right in saying that jail an inevitability? So if you're going to get into that world, you have to be prepared to do a jail sentence.
If you live in the south of Ireland and you're involved in dealing drugs, I'm telling you, 100%, no matter whether you get caught for loitering, whether you get caught for throwing junk dirt on the ground, whether you get caught outside a pub pissing against the wall, you're going to get a sentence for something sooner or later. You'll be 100%. The cops might be a bit slow, but once they get on top of you, it could take them like 18 months to 2 years to work out what you're doing before they jump on you. I used to watch people in Dublin, and I watched them getting red hot. And I'd sit in the house with Paddy Mitchell at night, you know what I mean? And he'd be asking about different criminals from all over Dublin. He'd want to know for other people around him. And I'd be speaking to him, and I'd be talking to him about a certain person. And I'd say, I'll give him 18 months. And in 18 months' time, they'd be in prison. And he'd be saying the same thing as well. Do you understand? You need to have your priority every day and have your mind like a beauty. And you get out of bed in the morning and you look at your girlfriend lying beside you. You need to remind yourself, today I have to be really sure every other day. I have to protect her, my children, my unit, and I have to make sure my money is right. Be calm about doing everything. You have to remind yourself every day. It's like you're a top sniper. You have to sneak around Dublin with your rifle, bang, looking for somebody. That's the way you need to sneak around Dublin or wherever you live. Understand? Your mind all the time needs to be beautiful. It needs to be clear. You understand? Because if you're not, you're going to end up in your big jail. Your unit, your people with you, they be the same. These guys have to have like beautiful minds that zoom into each other. You ain't got that. I'm telling you, get yourself a job. Get your life, because it's going to fall apart for you. I just see young fellas in Dublin walking around the street and road. It makes me sick. Do you know what I mean? Because years ago, things wasn't that bad. You know what I'm saying to you? That's the way it is. You only really work with people that come, highly recommended, that understand these. You understand that? When you're dealing with somebody, okay, and you have your location, if you're dealing with somebody and you're talking to them, you'll notice about somebody that you don't like something about them. They're not on the same page as you. They're probably a rip-off merchant, or talking to them, you think this fella won't go to prison, or he'll probably be a rip-off merchant. Make sure that you know to have yourself in eject mode. It's highly, highly important, okay? At the drop of a hat, bam, gone out of that situation. You don't know your location, so make sure that you're able to disappear, okay? Being able to eject and having that on your mind all the time is a serious agenda. There's a one-year agenda, do you understand? There's a lot of different things there. Your location, having to guard your unit, being calm. You know, make sure that you realise how the guards work. Because the guards are not stupid. They're the biggest gang in the world. No matter where you hide, it only takes an email or a phone call from another country and they'll have you arrested, put on a plane back to Dublin. Do you understand? These are your agendas that you need to work out. You need to have your mind like a beautiful mind. If you meet somebody and they are not as sharp as you, get rid of them because it's not going to work. There's 30,000 odd drug dealers in Dublin. There's enough people there for you in different areas and different parts of the country to make money with it. Don't give nobody your location and be smart how you move with these boys. You do that and you're going to get through that underworld. Do you understand? And I can guarantee you that. I'm 49 now. I ain't fighting with anybody. You understand? I won 2 court cases there over the last months. And the cops even said themselves, they said, no, he ain't forced now. Now he's been to treatment. He hasn't been in the guard system or caused trouble. He said he's not bothering anybody. That's the way it goes, bro. That's perfect, man. You know what I mean? Oh, hi, people. I'm not giving you a location. That's the way things are going.
That's wonderful stuff, Scott. Now, what's the third one that you want to speak about?
No, I told him was beautiful minds. This is the fourth one, bro.
Did you speak about the third one there? We spoke about 1, 2, and was that the third one? And then this is the fourth one now?
Yeah, this is about your money.
Fourth one, yeah.
Okay, when it boils down to your money, because really, when you are involved in that lifestyle, the only thing that really keeps you motivated, that would keep people in that world, is your money. Do you understand? So really what it is even though you have your own people around you, if you lose your money, you're not a player anymore. Nobody really wants to know. I asked one of the big gangsters in Ireland, I think it was about 4 months ago, I was talking to him. I says, what would you give me as a rule? Because I was writing another book about the heroin. I wanted to put some of these rules in at the end of it. I said, what would you say to people about the underworld? And this fella used to be hiding from everybody for years, do you know what I mean? But I was speaking to one of his mates, and he rang me back, and he says, here's 2 rules I'll give you, he said. He says, never bring anybody near you that hasn't got money. He says, you have to be ruthless to survive, he says. Don't be having nobody leeching off your act like that, because they'll end up bringing you down. You only work with people that you know are good at making money or have money. He said, and the second one is, he says, bear in mind, he says, if you're hiding and not giving your location, he says, you're going to have a normal life, he said. He says, I can tell you things won't be that bad. He says, but always bear in mind, he says, the underworld can be a good word for making money. He said, if you're smart enough to hide. He says, but karma is going to catch you sooner or later, he says. He says, and it can be horrific. He says, horrendous. He says, make sure kids realise that. Make sure they're not fucking with people or causing other people pain, he says. That's what he told me, you know. So
well, that's the art of good business, Scott, isn't it? You know, if you're what you've spoke about there is like a form of business. So like you'll see a top, you know, I remember listening to an interview, I think it was one of Pablo Escobar's associates. And he says, look, Pablo Escobar was one of the biggest drug dealers on earth. He goes, but I was also a drug dealer, but I was a businessman. He goes, I would have sold powder, but at the same time, I was selling wheat to Kellogg's. He says it was just another source of income to me. He says you always associate yourself with people with the same type of wealth and with the same mindset. And he goes, and if you don't look, not that you don't lower yourself, if you see the people rising up, it has to be hard for them. Because if you associate with people that are just coming up, he goes, there's a likelihood that you will be dragged down, and there's more of a chance of like being informed by the police, being grassed up, being robbed, and things like that. So, you know, I suppose the rules are in conjunction with each other. You know, make sure that you always associate yourself with the people on the same level as you. And, you know, if you're making money, if you're making big money, you have to associate yourself with people making big money also.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I said with number 3. Beautiful minds. People that you know are money makers, little money makers. People that are old school, understand the rules. Do you understand? People that have been scrutinized. These are all your agendas when you face people. You look at someone and think, is he going to rat me? Is this fella good enough to go to prison? Can I trust him with my money? Do you understand? You have to have people that are on your same page, people that come highly recommended. And there's loads of them all over Dublin. The amount of people
I suppose if you have to ask yourself that question, if you've got doubts about somebody, like if I'm in your group and you're asking yourself that question about me, can this guy do this? Can this guy, is he a money maker? Is he smart? Then you've already sort of answered that, because you know, if you're doubting somebody, you know, and you're in that world, doubt is unforgivable. You have to be sure about somebody at all times. And I suppose that answers the question.
That's what I was saying to you about ejecting. If you're not happy with somebody, you're watching somebody and you're not right, eject. Bang! Gone out of that situation, with your clothes for say like 2 weeks. One of your friends probably lives in Wexford. Or get down and stay with him, his wife and his kids, until that person's gone out of your life. Sooner or later they're going to go off in another direction. You learn, and you need to be smart enough to eject out of a situation straight away. You're talking to someone and you get a bad vibe about them, you get paranoid in your head, or a bad gut feeling. That's a superhuman power you have. Do you understand? Your intuition tells you something's not right. You need to be able to eject. Boom. And by people not knowing your location, you're going to save your life. That person's not going to get near you to destroy you. So when it comes to your money, you need to be calm, okay? Because if you lose your money, you've had it. Never, ever, ever, ever let anybody know where you have your few bob. If someone can't go to prison, probably out of jealousy, they'll say, we know where his money is. The cops will go mad to get their hands on it. Do you understand? Another thing is, you know, if someone offers you a deal, it's like the cutest hand lays out. You sit in the background, think about things, probably even think about it for 2 days with your unit. Don't move on anything unless you know that it's 100%. Do you understand? It doesn't take 2 seconds for something to go wrong and you lose your money. You need to know the implications of everything involved. Okay? We'd be super calm when it comes to money, because when you lose it, it's basically your world is all over for you. Do you understand? You know what I mean? Another thing about having money is never get overzealous with it. Never get like, you get yourself this anxiety, like, you have a BMW X5 in your garden, you have a Rolex, you have the best dogs in Ireland, you have beautiful girlfriend, you start getting overwhelmed, overzealous with things. Having yourself in that mindset is highly, highly, highly dangerous. Do you understand? You need to keep yourself like a normal person, keep yourself calm. Do you understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying to you?
no, I totally get what you're saying. And, I'm not going to be mentioning any names here, but I know, I know a couple of people like sort of like that, and they're very flash, and they draw a lot of attention to themselves, and it's like, this is just a ticking time bomb. Something's going to happen here. This isn't going to last forever. But I know another guy who's around about 70 years of age, and he drives a Volvo, right? And it's like it's a 20-year-old Volvo, and this guy's he's just worth as much as these young fellas, except he's never been involved with the police. He's never been. I think he'd done jail once when he was younger over something else, and he lives a very humble lifestyle, but he's just worth as much. He doesn't draw that attention to himself. He doesn't feed into it. He knows what he is. He stays humble, and he's actually he's a great guy. He's a good lad. Drawing attention to yourself, is that something that you would say, don't do that, don't be flash?
Money, you want to be really sharp. When you hold your fear, Bob, the only people I'd let know where that was would probably be like your own family or something. I wouldn't even let your own union know where it was in case trouble starts. It's a true saying, you've no friends in the underworld. When it comes to money, anybody will turn on you at any time. I remember in 1996 when I was a kid, I proper money I had. But you had young fellas on the road that I knew that hadn't got anything. I knew them. They hadn't even got £20. And they'd have stuck a knife in my back in 2 seconds to get £20 down me to buy heroin with. That's how quick they'd have stuck a knife in my back. So I was right up the top of Dublin with an ecstasy business, with plenty of money, and these jumpers, just to get 20 quid down me, would have stuck a knife in my back straight away. And that's how bad things were. When it comes to your money, you need to make sure nobody knows where it is, and have no one near your location or nobody near you, because that's how quick you lose it. When your money goes, you've basically had it in the underworld. Your game is up. You need to remember, you need to be highly, highly smart about your fuel, Bob, and highly calm with dealing with it as well. Don't get yourself overzealous and go, it's only a few grand. Oh, it's only this and that. You don't think like that, because you could lose your business tomorrow morning and you regret every bit of it. You'll end up a sick, bitter person of what happened to you. You have to be highly, highly cautious of every €100 you have, every €200 you have. I won't be going to throw money around the place like that. I'll hide it well, because that underworld could end for you tomorrow morning. Do you understand? And you're going to need it. If you hide from people, you can't let drug addicts near you. You can't let leeches near you, jealous people near you, rip-off persons near you, because they'll all stick a knife in your back to get what you have. Your money's what comes out of that world, and you need to guard that like you guard your mother, like you guard your girlfriend, your daughter, your son. That's the way you need to guard it. Do you understand? It's highly important. You understand? You lose your calm, you start running ahead of yourself and run into something too fast, bang, there goes your fuel, Bob. Do you understand? Make sure you realise the value of your money. That's highly important, because once that's gone, you've had it.
Well, that's why, if we're gonna talk about the money side of things, if you look at the likes of Pablo himself, and I know I'm using him as an example for a lot of things, but he hid his money so well. There was lots of money that was stored in warehouses. He was worth billions, but they're still finding money to this day under the ground in barrels, boxes, and everything. He hid it that well that it's still showing up. And you know, it's true. You need to hide your money. You need to not have people around you that are going to take that on you. You need to be always vigilant about that.
That's what happened, you know what I mean? A lot of the money that he had, he put that in the accounts abroad. most of the money that he brought into Medellin, he gave that away. Like he used to get like hundreds of millions, and he put it in cardboard boxes and walk into a football stadium, give it to everybody. Like he used to feed the whole of Medellin. If he'd used his head right and wasn't killing people, he'd still be alive today. His wife is still alive. His son is still alive. Popo is still alive. All his brothers are still alive. His whole gang is alive and out of prison. He's the only one dead. When he died, his whole cartel just moved on without him. That's how good the unorganized he were. He killed people, got that red hot, that the Americans went in and whacked him, you know. Sad what happened to him. But yeah, he's 7 billion when he died. That's how much he was worth. This is number 5, bro, yeah. This would be the most important thing for someone like me that you do in this lifetime. This is karma, okay? You want to live in that world, you need to realise that karma is out there surrounding you every day. Young fellas growing up don't understand this. Your grandmother, your grandfather, your father, your mother, they're older than you. Do you understand? They can see this perfect. I can see karma in people. That's how good of it I am, because I've been watching it all my life. I was only talking to a Crown Body farmer there a few weeks ago, and they were saying the same thing to me. That every move they make, they watch for the guard, they worry about their money, but they watch the karma involved in the deal, all the trouble that they've seen over the years in different families. I've had severe, I mean severe, bad luck in my life, and that's why I walked away from that underworld. My ex-girlfriend overdosed in 2016. My own friends all overdosed. I spent years of my life in prison. Look at the trouble I've had with my father over statements and all. Wrecked my life. He's been in trouble for 20 years in prisons. Loads of my other friends right now are destroyed from hard drugs. Do you understand? So, you know, I don't know. A lot of kids want to be gangsters watching like Heat, Scarface, Carlito's Way, The Godfather, Sopranos, Breaking Bad. Young guys see these films and get obsessed with them. The young fellas over here in Dublin. Did you ever hear that film called The Town? It's about armed robbers in Boston, the Irish gangs. These young fellas are obsessed with these films over here. And you think that's the way you live, you know?
It's like
Next
the
thing
movie Black Mass. Have you ever seen that?
like that about Whitey Bulls, like you see what happened. But in the end, like he went to prison and got stabbed to death. Man, his own people turned on him. Look at
Hmm.
most of the Sopranos in the end, Tony and his own restaurant. Crew hanged out and all, you know. That's really what happens. Karma is like a train. This train is sitting in County Wexford and it's watching you all your life. Do you understand? It's on its way slowly through County, slowly to Dublin to where you live. You need to make sure that train lands on the station, yeah? When it finally gets to you, that your karma is all as you can. You need to make sure that, like, whatever way you're affecting people years, that you try and be fair with people. If you're involved in heavy violence or selling the genocide powder or you're selling crack cocaine, I can tell you, by the time karma gets to you, it's going to tear you in 1,000 pieces and it's going to tear your family apart as well. So we'll avoid that. I mean, I have had severe bad luck. Do you understand? Little Barbara's death. Over what happened to her since, like, I'd say 1996. I was in prison at the end of 96. So she was coming up to see me in 1997, and I could see in her eyes she was stoned on heroin. I knew myself, I don't like to put up with this, man. I've too much going on. I'm looking at like 1,000 years in prison there. And I cut her loose, which was a bad thing I made to do, because I was killing her on the visits. I was killing her before I went to prison over it. And eventually, she was destroyed from drugs, made 5 years in your prison sentence like hell, with people ringing into the jail saying the state she was in. And then eventually in 2016, she died of an overdose. When I was a kid, she was like the best looking girl in the whole of Dublin. Heroin got to her, and that's what it done to her. So rather than me having a normal wife or anything, we got away from her when we were young, and it eventually killed her. Do you understand? So that's the way my mind is today. That's probably someone who should have been married to with 3 kids like 30 years ago. Do you know what I'm saying?
I
Big
get you.
pass.
Karma seems to be a thing a lot of people in that world bring up all around the world. I'm listening to people from England to Australia to America, and they talk about this karma that comes back to get them, and they would change it all. They would, if they could go back in time, they wouldn't go near any of it because of the karma. It, as you say, it's like a train. It comes back round and it'll hit you tenfold. So you have to be very careful what you do in that life due to the karma.
I'm telling you out straight. You get young guys and they look at nice clothes. They look at these North Face tracksuits, all these Boss jumpers. They want all these Vapor Max runners, iPhones, Galaxies. They want a nice car. Do you understand? They want, and their mind is like it's locked into money. Their girlfriend getting coke, getting weird. Do you understand? But they can't see karma because they're too young and they don't even really know what it is. Over the years, you get a few bangs of it, and when it hits you, I can tell you it's not nice. You need to be around positivity. I'm telling you, if you look at the 32 counties right now, you look at the types of addiction people have to crack cocaine and heroin. They're all destroyed, those kids. And in the future, the people that were selling it, they're going to get it as well. It happened to me over years. Imagine what they're in for selling crack cocaine to someone's children. I'm telling you, you're out there and you want to make money. Do not go outside the boundaries of selling probably hash, weed, pollen, or your bit of coke. There's no point in me telling you any lies. Coke is an absolutely monstrous quality in this lifetime. But washing into crack cocaine or selling heroin, you're asking to bring absolute severe, I mean severe, bad karma into your family because you brought it into somebody else's. Keep your karma as small as you can this lifetime. I wouldn't go and be bullying people. I wouldn't be going and fucking hanging somebody. I wouldn't be going and ripping somebody off that's going to leave their family bad. They can't feed them. Try and be fair with people because that fairness is going to bring you through your lifetime with no problems. It's going to give you a brilliant name and you'll be able to walk with anybody in the whole of Europe. You land in Amsterdam and they ring back to Dublin from one of those coffee shops and ask people over there. They say, I want to know about a fella in Belfast because Roland Holden. They'd say, yeah, he's a lovely fella, he's a decent guy, he's very fair with people. Boom, you're in the door with them. They ring over there and hear, man, he's a mad fucking heroin dealer, man, he's always beating the bodies out of kids in the area. They bait you back out the Schiphol airport just as quick as they look at you. And that's the way it's going to get down. Do you understand? I tell you that. Keep your karma in this lifetime as small as you can. You get involved with people that are very positive. People that scrutinise, that check out. Don't have none of these dogs around you. No one negativity around you. No toxic people around you. Because their karma is going to affect you. That's what they're going to bring on you. Remember what I'm saying to you. Grandmothers, grandfathers, mothers, fathers, people my age have had it all their life. They understand it perfect. You're a young guy that wants to live in that underworld. Speak to people you know about karma. Let them tell you about it. I'm telling you, there's no badness in me towards any young guys in Dublin. Anyone that wants to be a big gangster. I'm telling you out straight. Listen to what I'm saying. I've had horrific bad luck in my life. And I probably brought it on myself over some of the things I did. I having people around me that were involved in doing big murders. People that I know that were selling crack cocaine and heroin. Do you understand? They all ended up destroyed in the end, bro. And I know from having some of them near me is what ruined my life. Mark the world when we was a kid. He done a few murders. The cops didn't like that. They knew I had a big ecstasy business and they jumped all over me to get me for being around him giving them money. And I ended up spending nearly the rest of my life in prison over it. If we hadn't have been around him, we hadn't had nobody know my location. If we hadn't just moseyed on my business, my life would be 1,000 times different today. Little Barbara probably be still alive, or one of my old girlfriends, And my mates like, see, Yorkie done, he'd be still walking around. The mothers came from being around negative people that had bad karma coming to them. Remember what I'm saying to you. Karma is that dangerous. You let that into your family, your girlfriend could be beautiful. Next thing you know, she'd be sitting there telling you that she probably has stage 3 or stage 4 cancer. She has leukemia, or she probably even could come in and tell you that your mother or one of your sisters has cancer. That's the way it comes into you. You know, your big fancy Mercedes in the garden or having money is not going to be any good to you when that comes, and I can tell you that now. Keep your karma as low as you can. And the most horrific bad luck that you're going to bring into your family comes from selling the genocide powder or crack cocaine or probably even doing a murder. Someone that you know will end up murdered or you will yourself. Remember that karma is horrific, man. This is another one, okay? This is 6. This is a superhuman power people have. You need to realise in the underworld, if you want to get anywhere, you have to be calm. Do you understand? In this lifetime, when trouble starts in your family and you're a hard-working family, all your problems will be sorted out better if your family stays calm. If you live in Finglas and you're out there and you have a certain area, say for instance, Finglas West, if you and your boys that's running that area with hash and weed and coke and all, between us, don't be shouting and roaring at each other when trouble starts. If you are calm and your neighbours acting sick, you're ringing the guy and saying, they're wrecking the area. If the cops are driving down there because things are calm, you're going to make an awful lot more money. So no matter where you live, once you're calm with people, if somebody is jealous of you and disrespects you, blood is boiling and you want to kill them or something like that, remember, you have a superhuman power. You remain calm, okay? There's more than one way to skin a cat. When things settle down, you can get that person for the way they disrespected you. I've had problems with people over the years, and I'd leave them for months and get them sorted, and no one would even know it was me. I was brilliant at being able to keep calm. Once you're calm, you can move mountains with your unit. Do you understand? If you have some huge gangster in Dublin who controls the country, and he realises you and your boys have beautiful minds, these young fellas know the agendas, these young fellas are very well cooked. That's a person that's going to work with you for the next 20, 30 years. He knows you understand calm. He knows you're cute. He's going to work with you forever. And if you try and get involved with anybody up the ladder in Holland that you know you kingdom, and you say you know him or people his quality, they're going to want to work with you. These young fellas know their agendas, they've beautiful minds. Do you understand? That's going to carry you through this lifetime. You're calm, you're smart about the moves you make, the cutest hand lays out. You understand to sit in the background and be smart. I can tell you, you're going to have a beautiful life. Do you understand?
I remember watching the movie Rise of the Foot Soldier, the Pat Tate story. And one thing that stood out to me about certain guys in that world, if you didn't have the ability to stay calm and sit back and look at a situation for what it is, 9 times out of 10, that was going to negatively affect you even more. So what I mean by that is, you know, something happens to you in the world, you get done over, you get robbed, something like that happens, something negative happens to you. If you react straight away on emotion, 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up the one worse off. But if you take a step back, stay calm, look at the situation, assess it, and wait and bide your time, then that's going to benefit you more than acting on emotions, basically.
Well, that's what I was saying to you. It's like the cutest hen lays out. You don't give anybody your location, okay? You be calm whatever you move you make. If someone says to you, do you want to do something, I spend a day or two before I give them an answer. Because people will go out of their way. People that spend months trying to get close to pretend you're a friend to rip you off. Do you understand? If people ain't scrutinised and you let them near you, they're probably just going to ruin your life. In 1996, I walked into a pub on the north side of Dublin. I had to where I was in there with people he knew. And I was all right with everybody in Dublin. We didn't bother any of them. But it's like some of the biggest grasses in this country was in that pub watching what I was doing. Rip-off merchants that hadn't got much money and all. And he was telling me that they were his family and they were all right and these people he got on with. I was looking at them, I didn't like the looks they were giving me, and I knew myself, like, these are jealous of me, they're watching what I'm doing. I made a big mistake sitting there saying to myself, fuck them, we've more money than them, we've a bigger business than them, we don't care about them, which was a bad move. I should have got out of that pub and disappeared away from them forever. He was saying they were all right, and they weren't all right. One of them ripped my family off for 40,000 years about 3 or 4 months later and caused 12 deaths in Dublin and horrendous pain in everybody's families. And it's still going on in our families today, the trouble they caused. Do you know what I mean? Life sentences everywhere, deaths everywhere, killing with the guards over the case. You would not believe the trouble that went on in Dublin. And that was over there. And one rip-off merchant named me who I didn't even trust. He was jealous of me. Do you know what I'm saying to you? I should have liked that. I should have used my brains and knew myself. This fella's jealous of me. I need to get away from him. I dropped my guard, man, and really it cost me my life. Do you know what I'm saying? If we'd have sat down now and looked at him like while they were all drinking and all, being calm, sat down, looked at the implications of these people around me, man, looked at the heat he was bringing on me over murders, my life would be 1,000 times different today, you know what I mean? And that's what happened. When the ecstasy was stolen, my father wasn't calm. He was losing his mind over his ears. He bet marked word to death. Absolute killing started over it, and all our families ended up destroyed. And the people around me like ended up drug addicts. The whole load of grassing went on, statements being made, lawyers being ruined, people going to prisons, people being shot dead, and that's all over my father losing the head in this situation and letting people name me they weren't good. I mean, I knew myself, I knew they weren't good people. So really, like, the trouble that went on in my life all started because I walked into a pub and started sitting there talking and drinking with people that were no good. He was saying they were all right. They weren't all right. They were scrutinised. Little Yorkie Dunn's mother was saying to me in the house, she says, well, I'm right to look at him at the door. She says, and I know his family, she says, they're not good people. I'm telling you, she says, don't bring them near this house again. And I didn't listen to her. The IRA and other big criminals were saying to me, he says, got you people around you, they're not good people, I liked Mike, I'd known him for a long time, but he brought the scum of the earth near me. And basically it cost me my life, really, It cost Yorkie's life. Little Barbara ended up a junkie because she was in prison, she was destroying drugs. All the other mates ended up destroying drugs. The grassing got that bad over Mark's murder. 3 of the people involved committed suicide over it because they were more or less like, they weren't made for anymore. The trouble I've had with my father over statements, he ended up doing 23 years in prison because of his attitude. I got 10 years myself. The rest of the boys up in Ballyfermot all got sentences as well. Big time trouble come out of that case, all because I let one person near me that I didn't like, that wasn't scrutinised. I didn't blank him. I dropped my guard around him. He robbed those ears. Chaos started in the crew. My father wasn't calm, and around a whole lot of families and a whole lot of lives. When my book comes out, you'll read about it. But the thing about it, my book could be like a lot of stories about me growing up with my mates. You're going to love it. But when it gets to the end chapters and you see what happened to us, you won't want to be a gangster when you read it.
Well, do you know what we'll do? We'll have a wee talk about your book, once you're finished with this year, because I do. You've got a book coming out in July time, and whenever this comes out, if anybody's watching this before the book comes out or after, the link will be left in the description and comment section for people to go over and buy the book. I suggest people do. I can't wait to read it. And we'll give a wee talk about this after the 7 Deadly Sins.
But listen, Ronan, this is the 7th one here, okay? Now, this will determine how you live your life. This is about the guys in Ireland, okay? That's another one of your agendas you need to have in your mind 24 hours a day. You see a lot of young fellas arguing with coppers and getting smart with them cars and things like that. You know what I mean? You need to realise in this lifetime, the guards aren't clairvoyant. They don't just sit in the guard station and zoom into your mind and wonder who's doing what. That only happens. They only come near you when someone gives you a name, and it has to be like somebody near you. The guards, you need to remember, have that much power. They can put you in prison for the rest of your life. They get a hold of you. My recommendation is if a guard of car pulls up along the side of you and asks you questions, I'd be very calm and speak to them like a gentleman. Because when they go back to the station, they have a briefings and they tell each other everything. And they're going to say, I was talking to a man down there who stopped him today. He's not the worst him. Remember what I'm saying to you. You need to realise that powerful. They can stick you behind the steel door in Wheatfield prison forever. You can get out, they could do it again if you're back there in drugs. You need to be aware that if you see a guy in the car, run. Don't find these attitudes towards them like getting smart with them. You need to realise how powerful they are. It only takes one of them to put an email into the Criminal Assets Bureau and say, look at this fella's card in his garden. You know what I mean? He's too much money around him. One email off the guards or a sergeant in that station, and next thing you know, the car will pull up at your hall door, drag your car out of the garden, onto the back of a lowrider and drive off, and your game is up. While you're arguing with the guards, they could probably get you on a charge or get some of that grass in some area to get close to you, and your life is over. In 1996, the guards were trying to get me. I was with, but I didn't think people were going to be that bad. They'd one of them on Portmanic and another rat in Malahide, and the two of these hadn't got a worry in the world because they were jealous of me. It's trying to put me away nearly for the rest of my life. If I was sitting beside one of these and we had a few drinks on me or something like that, and one of my mates got drunk and started telling them things about me, they were going back and telling the guards. So if Mark Ware was sitting in a house with me and one of them heard him talking about a murder, they'd went back and told the cops everything that came out of his mouth and probably would have got him a life sentence, not a bother on him. The guards hate drug dealers. Remember, they're paid 700, 800, 900 euros a week to lock your ass up. You need to be aware of how dangerous the guards are when they come to get you. The guards are not just a load of young guys driving around in a white cop car. The guards are all different divisions. The murder squad, the task force, the drug squad, the criminal assets bureau, and on top of them is major guards that are all their bosses all through the country. Do you understand? You have high up guards on huge salaries that control the whole country. These guys only have to make one phone call to the cab, and the cab will knock into the gaff and give you say a bill, miscellaneous, for 60, 70 grand. Bang, just like that. You need to realise the implications of how heavy the guards are. If you're a young guy that's a teenager and you want to be involved in that way of life, you need to realise how smart the guards are. You need to realise the guard pulse system, how brilliant it is to them. Every time they see you and they write down where you're at, that goes in the guard pulse system. You only have to end up in that 5 or 6 times and they look at that and they'll assign 2 detectives on you to get you, or they'll ring the cab about you and hit you with a big bill. You need to realise how powerful they are. Do you understand? They have the power to walk into a courtroom and say to the judge, I don't think he's the worst. I speak to him on a few occasions where I arrested him. He's not really the worst. That's going to cut your sentence in half. The judge hearing that thinking that you're not an aggressive thug. Whatever comes out of their mouth in that courtroom is highly important to your life. So if you see the guards, I would make it that you are so cautious that you realise how powerful they are. I would say we're not giving people your location. Be highly important because you do not want the guards at your hall door. Do you understand? Your girlfriend could be in bed. They could raid your house. They could give her a love the lip and say, he's going to the joy. She might get out of bed one morning with the guards being at the door and say, I don't want to live in this life anymore. And you lose a relationship over it. You remember what I'm saying to you? Don't be minding what people are saying, the guard of this, the guard of that. If someone turns over and grasses you up, they're going to give them the power to put you away for the rest of your life. You need to realise how powerful they are. You could go to live in the United States. Do you understand? Something could come up that you did a murder 4 years ago. They'll hear about it. And it only takes the guy in Dublin one phone call or an email over to them to say, we want him for a murder. Next thing you know, there'll be a pair of handcuffs on you in the middle of a pub in New York somewhere. You'll be brought out to JFK Airport and they'll probably be waiting for you there. Bang, pair of handcuffs on you, probably a 14, 15-hour flight back to Dublin, and you'll be a Mountjoy prison or Port Leeds prison over it. You need to realise how powerful they are. And I'm telling you, the best way you're going to do that is by hiding from them. Do you understand? If they ever stop you, don't be getting yourself into these Mickey Mouse arguments like shouting and roaring at them. Because the reason why they got you is probably because somebody that was jealous of you grasped you up to bits. You need to realise the power. They have the power to put you away for the rest of your life. Do you understand? If they say anything to you, we'll be very calm about talking to them. Do you understand? But I would do everything I could to hide from them. Do you understand? And but not
Yes. So basically, the inevitability of the when the time comes, you're going to be judged by these cops. You're going to be in a courtroom with these cops, and if they have a bad experience with you just on the street level, when the time comes and you're in that courtroom, it's going to come down to what they say about you. Well, actually, Ronan, Scott, they're not bad fellas, but actually, if they've had a bad experience with you, they'll go, well, do you know what? These fellas are bad lads, and they deserve more time. It'll come down to that. That's quite interesting to know.
So if you're calm, if you're a teenager right now, yeah, and you realise what I'm saying, you need to have manners. You need to have manners for the top gangsters. You need to have manners for if you get arrested by other cops. Do you understand? You start shouting at them or abuse them, they look at you and think, we sort you out. They'll go back to the station and debrief each other. Do you understand? When they come in at, say, a shift at probably 10 o'clock in the morning, they all talk to each other, about 5 or 6 of them, or 10 of them, and they tell each other everything so they know what's going on in the area. They're going to tell each other, do you know such and such up there around and Holden? They say, he wouldn't be the worst when I was talking to you, he was not a bad drunk. The rest of them will hear that and they'll be calm about you. You don't want that fella to say, you see that fella at night, they say he's a cheeky, aggressive dog, him, bang him up first chance you get. And when they go out on the beat, they'll drive around looking for you. That's going to ruin your life, or it's going to leave your life all right. You need to realise how powerful they are. And by talking to somebody my age, around 50, about different divisions they have, and more what prisons is like, do you understand? The implications of what's going to happen to you in prisons, because it's going to real life. Do you understand? You need to speak to people about the guards, and you need to be aware all the time how advanced they are. They can get you pulled out of any country, brought back to Dublin and lock your ass. And when you go to court, what they say to the judge is going to determine whether you get 3 years, 4 years, or whether you get a suspended sentence. That's the power that they have over you. Learn to be smart around the guards. And the number one thing, never have an attitude towards them. I'm telling you out straight, bro. This is really, really, really important. Do not be having the guards near your home. Your girlfriend's mother hears about it. She probably tell them, get rid of him. You're never going to have a life around him. You're a calm person. That's not the worst. They won't be that bothered about you. It'll come to locking your ass up if you're only selling weight and your name goes up for that same talent garden station. They're not going to be that bothered about you. Someone goes in and tells them you're selling crack and talent and you have a big fat mouth on you. Every copper in that station is going to want to put a pair of handcuffs on you. I can tell you that now. Do you know what I mean? You need to realise the power they have. I'm telling you, but not giving anyone your location and hiding, not telling anyone where your house is going to save your ass. The guards are super powers. They've so many divisions. They've the cab, which can tear you apart and take everything off you. You could get in serious trouble with some young fella, lose your calm, smash him up. You probably end up dying in the hospital. Bang! The murder squad is on your case, who are a heavy squad. It'll tear you apart, tear your friends apart until one of them turns over on you. That's what happened to us in '96. You could have the drug squad that'll be notified about you, that are a heavy squad. Many informants they have. They've a lot of powers. Then you can have a task force. They've a whole load of different divisions that are behind normal guards on the street and just a white squad car. They've a whole lot of divisions and a whole lot of big heavy bosses. Heavy guards right up the top of the country. They're called the shots. One of them will only have to hear about you, and he'll decide two detectives that'll be young guys that'll be very much looking for convictions. They'll want to go up the ladder. He'll assign two of them onto you, and they'll tear your life apart. So I'm telling you, always remember with your agendas, when you're talking to somebody, is a person going to rat you, or is a person going to go to prison? Do you understand? If a person loses their money, if a person gets jealous towards you, they probably hand up to one of these people, and they be waiting there on a big wage every week to take a big bite out of you. It's very important that you realise to hide from the guards or how to speak to them if you got nicked. On the 1st of December, I went to court in the circuit court, and the DPP was talking to the judge, like saying, like, he should be getting 4 years or 10 years. Look at his criminal record since he's a kid. And one of the cops in the case turned around and said, look, he's been in treatment, he says, for nearly 2 years. I've rang into the centre on numerous occasions, and he said his urines are always clean. So as far as I'm concerned, he's been put into work in and hasn't been on the guard pull system in 2 years. He says he hasn't come to attention. Do you understand? I got some references off Bernard Mahoney, and a friend of mine have a top boxing club to say we're satisfied that he's not bothering anybody. He's grand and hasn't been around drugs and dealt drugs in 6 years. So I got a suspended sentence for 3 years. If we was messing those guards around, or I had an attitude problem, or I was causing people in Dublin trouble, he could have went in there and sworn my life away and got me 5-6 years in prison or 10 years in prison with my criminal record. And that's the way that could have went down. So if you're a young kid in Dublin and you want to be an OG gangster, I'm telling you, talk to people my age about the different divisions that the guards have, how high up these divisions they get. Do you understand? The implications of the Criminal Assets Bureau. Okay? They can take everything off you and leave you in prison down 10 years on your ass with not even enough money to buy tobacco. Bam! At the drop of a hat, that's how heavy they can get with you. It only takes one person to turn over on you and grass you up, and they can absolutely destroy your life. Make sure that you realise the implications of the guards and how powerful they are. It doesn't matter just because you see a white squad car driving past you with two young guards in it. They're the tip of the iceberg to the power that's what's behind them in the DPP's office. For the murder squad, the drug squad, the task force, the cab, and so on. They go to work on you, they'll tear your life up into 1,000 pieces, and you need to realise that. So if you're a young guy, you need to speak to people about their experiences with the guards, what the guards is like. Because I know that criminal now, because he's probably been through the mill with them. What I'm saying to you, make sure you have manners. If a guard says something to you, I'd be nice and quiet. You start abusing them, it's going to go either way in the courtroom. I've seen it myself loads of times over the years. So that's it, really.
It's sort of like an investment, though, isn't it? Just the way you said it there, it's like an investment because you know from your experience that it's inevitable that at some stage you're going to end up in that dock, you're going to end up in that courtroom, and it's going to come down to one very simple thing. The people that were after you, actually, how did you treat them on the street level? And their word means a lot while you're there. Not grassing, not touting on anybody, but just how you treated those people. So if you've treated them well, and that word and that sort of investment, not being a little shit to the cops, will actually pay off in the long run. Which is actually, if you think about it, it's very logical. It's a very smart thing to do. And yeah, listen, I think you've covered the seven deadly sins there. That's phenomenal. What you've spoke about there, the experience. It's like a lifestyle. It's like I'm seeing it as a lifestyle. It's not like seven different points. They're all work in conjunction with each other. And if you listen to one, you'll do the other. And if you do them all together, you'll sort of be you'll keep yourself right in that world. Would it be correct in saying that?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying to you. You get the seven of them, you keep them on your mind all the time. When you look at somebody that's talking to you and wants to do anything with you, these are your agendas, your beautiful mind. See, calm, being calm. When you see somebody knows all this, that's the person that's sharpening themselves. When you see someone that realizes how powerful the guys are in the world, help you know what I mean? This is what I'm saying to you. These are your agendas, seven of them, you know what I mean? And make sure you realise being calm, how careful you are with your money. You get them, I'm telling you out straight, that's going to bring you through that underwood. Okay? Never give anyone your location. That's going to block you from 1,000 problems. 1,000 problems that's going to block you from. And that's going to be like that every year. Not having leeches near you. Someone watching what you're doing that's going to harass you. You learn to move around Dublin Q with your unit. You make sure you're in your car driving around on your own. Don't let anybody listen to making the phone calls, anything like that. I'm telling you, you're going to pull through that underwood. The cops stop you at a checkpoint somewhere and you treat people in the car. They're going to say to themselves straight away, why aren't these guys in work? Or what are they doing together at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon? I don't know straight away. The cops ain't stupid. These are fucking drug dealers. If you were on your own and got stopped at a traffic lights and just said you were on your way to the hospital to pick your wife up, they'll just wave you on. They see you in the car and write down the three of your names. It goes on the guided pulse system. You can be stopped a week later on the south side of Dublin. It'll be the same thing, goes in the guided pulse system. They're going to make a case against you sooner or later. You're not giving anyone your location and you're sneaking around your district where you live. You're sneaking around your county. I'm telling you out straight, bro. That's going to put years extra on your life and leave your life being beautiful. I'm telling you, I used to hide from everybody, and so did all my friends. And they're all still the same age as me, walking around Dublin. None of them have a bother on them. And when I see them, I have the crack with them, and they're all very happy. And that's the way we live. The cutest hen lays out. That's the main quotation of that underwood. I've given you 7 things there. I'm telling you out straight. Make sure them was agendas that you realise them. Make sure that you understand them. I'm telling you, I'll save your ass. 10 years' time, 15 years' time, if you use those rules, you will look back and you'll have to be out of avoiding a lot of jail, a lot of hassle, and you still have your few bob around you. And that's the truth.
And that's the definition of what you said in the first podcast, the beautiful gangster. Because people were saying, that were referencing that, they were saying, what does he mean by the beautiful gangster? Well, I suppose a person who lives by those 7 rules will be considered the beautiful gangster. I want to get your opinion on something else. I know we've finished on that segment. I want to get your opinion on something else. There's a lot of chaos in Dublin at the minute. Actually, the whole of Ireland, north and south, in regards to the migrant crisis, refugees coming in. Obviously, people don't mind refugees coming from Ukraine helping other countries. That's what Ireland's about. What's the reality of Dublin at the minute? What's really going on?
Basically, what happened is all these globalists are trying to take Ireland off the Irish people. They're trying to take the United Kingdom off the British people. They're trying to take France off the French. If they can get rid of Irish people, they'll own Ireland. It's called Putin Hove Collegi. Cotton Eye plan is the real name of the European Union, and that's set up to kill Irish people and take Ireland off them. So when you have all this filth from other countries in here, they'll work for €3 an hour. Do you understand? So all the wealth will go to the globalists. They own Europe. That's what they're trying to do. A lot of people are afraid to hear this, but the people that are dumped in this country right now are sent in probably to attack us when the time is right. They've cleaned out their prisons all over Africa and they've dumped them in this country. Like what Castro done in the late 70s. If you look at the film Scarface, you'll see what happened there. The Muriel boat lift. He cleaned out his mental institutions, he's homeless, everyone in his prisons, and he dumped them all in Miami. And he ran right across America. It saved him a fortune. That's what they're doing now. They're dumping sex offenders, rapists, paedophiles. They're dumping them all over Europe, and they have them in hotels in Ireland. So these globalists in the background is trying to take down the Irish people, probably attack us soon, and the way things have went in Palestine. If you see what happened in Palestine people were bombed over, and nobody in the world knew what was going on because the people doing it owned all the media. They're going to try and do that with us in the future, but they're slow moving about how they do it. It's called Cotton Eye. People might be frightened about it, and they mightn't want to believe it, but I'm telling you, these globalists, all these top people that control money, want the Irish people out of Ireland to take over the country and attack the white race. And that's exactly what they're doing. Look at the state of America. Look at the state of the UK. What person gets hundreds and thousands of people out of Africa and dumps them in Europe? They're trying to get rid of us. And that's the bottom line. Everybody in Dublin knows it. The government in Ireland are anti-Irish. They've sold Irish people out years ago to get the euro. Do you understand? I'll do a whole podcast with you soon. I'll explain a lot of things to you. Even look at the drugs. Heroin, crack cocaine. What government that love their people to put up with that? Ireland is destroyed with drugs and you can end it just like that. That's all you have to do. There's chemicals in B&Q and Woodies called ammonia. They're the main ingredient for crack cocaine along with caustic soda and baking soda. And they should be banned straight away because all they're brought into this country is to be sold to drug dealers. Do you understand? We got on to the government about them, about the Stephen Donnelly, Micheál Martin, and they didn't give a fuck. They wrote me back letters telling me, oh, don't be worried, we'll sort it out. They don't want to sort it out because these globalists in the European Union are telling them, leave that stuff there because it's killing off that race. We want to change things around and make it better. Brainwashed bunch of muppets in the dog, and they're causing the genocide of white people. As long as Fine Gael are in the doll, they're going to take down the Irish as a race. And the main things that's going to do it right now is mass immigration to wipe us out, that attack Irish people, or we have hard drugs. The genocide powder and crack cocaine is destroying Irish children right now. There's 140,000 plus alone in the south of Ireland addicts, and it's getting bigger all the time. The next generation of kids growing up, they're going to become addicts. They're going to be naive and want to know what it's like to smoke a rock or smoke heroin and then be gone. I'd need to do a whole podcast with you to explain it to you, okay?
Well, what we'll do is, Scott, right? We'll do a separate podcast, and that nobody can really disagree with you on that because we're seeing what's happening. Anybody that's speaking up has been considered a far right fascist when it's not. You can't call a mother with 3 kids walking down the street. She's afraid to walk to the shop because she's been grabbed at. The kids are unsafe outside. She's not a far right fascist. She's just telling the truth. Nobody's racist. Ireland's been multicultural for the past forever. And we accept all cultures, but what you don't accept is badness and criminality and rape and paedophilia to be normalized, and for the Irish people to be sort of cast out of their own country. I think anybody that has that mindset is not a far right fascist. You've got a book out in July. Can you speak to us about the book? What's the book called and what's it about?
It's called Back to the Old School. And it's about me and my friends in the 90s growing up in Dublin, okay? It's about the ecstasy scene and the dance scene, the hash scene. Me and my friends and people I know, like a handful of gangs in Dublin, controlled the whole of Dublin and the country. So it'll tell about the rise of us, about the nightclubs, everything like that. You'll love it. It's 5-star rating already. It's had to be proofread. So basically what happened is, in 1996, while things were up and running, I got involved with people. I went to meet my friend in a pub in North Dublin, and he introduced me to a lot of people and said they were all right. I didn't scrutinise them and check them out, and he turned out to be like basically a pub full of guys and informants and rip-off merchants and people that were sick jealous of me. So over the months, one of them who I let near me, who I didn't even like, I knew he was jealous of me, ripped off ecstasy belonged to my father, and trouble started. Mark the word was murdered, and basically what happened was the guards got involved, ripped the gang to pieces, charged every one of us, put us in prison, and as they say, you have no friends in the drugs world. Everybody started turning on each other, fighting over the situation, fighting over grass, and statements being made. The trouble that went on, I got grassed up to bits. I wasn't taking any shit off anybody. I eventually had enough trouble over it, that making statements to clean myself. Then people were saying, Scott, geez, that's grassing. Then people were saying to the people that did it, you had the grassing, Scott. Look what you've done and the way you looked after you over the years. And this resulted in suicides and everybody being destroyed from hard drugs like heroin. This is the drugs they went on to knock themselves out from the pain. And all these rip-off merchants ended up in bits then in the future. Their families ended up in bits. I think 12 people lost their lives. So we'll tell about the 90s and the ecstasy scene. We'll tell about all the murders that went on, the way the gangland hit started off and people robbing people, the jealousy involved, and how things ended up for all our lives in the end. And at the end of it, it's not going to be pretty. I can tell you that now, bro. You know, there's a lot of murders done that really shouldn't have been done. My own girlfriend, little Barbara, I would kill him a whole lot of hard drugs. Drugs took her life off her. My own friends, Yorkie, Chester, the gang of it was shot dead, overdosed, the whole lot. I mean, Haliban come in and really wiped out half of Dublin, and that's what happened. The 90s were brilliant, but over the trouble that kicked off and towards the end, marginalised people. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So you're going to love this book. It's a journey through the whole 90s and the
Well, I'll
karma that got.
definitely, what I'll do, Scott, I'll be buying the book. I'll be reading the book. I can't wait to read the book. And would it be right in saying that it sort of sounds like a movie? Like, the way you've described it to me, it looks like a movie plot, like the scene of it looks like it could be made into a movie, basically.
Now, my friend Bernard Mahoney, he's made like the Essex Boys, Rise to the Foot Soldier, Bonded by Blood. So it will be a film in the future, like, and it'll be a young guys from Dublin starring in it. But right now, I'm just focused on Amazon. Is going to have it, Amazon.co.uk, in probably the end of July, and Amazon.com in the United States. So it's probably going to be a big seller. What he's saying is it's the best book ever written about the underworld in Europe. So as it's looking, because it deals with the karma inside criminal families, which hasn't been done before, he says we can use just wrote the best book so far, you know.
Well, do you know what? It doesn't matter if you're watching this as it's premiering. It doesn't matter if you're watching this after. I will leave the link for that in the description and comment section. Obviously, there's no link created yet, so you can't go and buy the book because it's out in July. Or can you pre-order?
I don't know how much. It's in Bernard's hands right now. He's sorting all that out, but he was in touch with me there during the week, and he says, "Look, it's going to be July." He said. So
Right. Well, I'll contact Bernard myself to see if he if there's a link for that, maybe where you can pre-order. But regardless, guys, if you're watching this after the fact, make sure you check the description and comment section. I will leave the link for that, so you can head over and buy that. I suggest you do. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to read it, and then Scott will come back on. We're going to do a couple of other little talks about certain other things. You're going to come on and do the genocide powder. That's a hard-hitting one. There's a lot of truths to be told with that. And obviously we want to talk more about Ireland, the politics that go into Ireland, the things that are going on right now. But look, I think that's a great note to end on, Scott. Is there anything else you want to speak about?
No, I was just saying, remember I was telling you at the start, for the end of genocide powder, I wanted to put in, different heavy criminals' families' opinions. And he asked 12 people, some advice for the younger generation. So just, I want to put this to you, okay? I like to explain things about crime because I grew up in that world. But I'm telling you, out of those 12 people, 2 people said to me, one of them was a political fella. He's a good friend of mine, he's very close to me. And he said, I give people advice. Get your few bob and keep your head down. But only look after people that look after you. Have nothing to do with anybody else. No leeches around and nothing. That's what he said. One of them was a huge criminal that I know. It's hard to get to him. But he said, I've 2 things to say to you. He says, never give up your location or have anybody near you. The more you're hid, the beautiful life you're going to have. He says, I never have anything to do with anybody that hasn't got money. You can't have people around the leech and have your people that can't make it. Get rid of them. Unless they're money people, business-minded people, that have nothing to do with them. That was 2 people. The other 10 people that I talked to that come out of really heavy families and that are very mature as me, all said, Scott, tell them to get a job, get a trade, get an education, get your little girlfriend and have a family. Make sure you understand that, and that's out of our mouths. So 10 people out of the dozen people told me, tell those kids in Dublin and the south of Ireland and whoever reads our books that we're recommending things not the way they were 25 years ago. Get yourself a job and a little girlfriend. You make sure you have a family. So that's it, okay?
That's beautiful, Scott. That's beautiful. A beautiful note to end on. And I think you're 100% correct in everything that you've said. And I like the ending of that. And there's basically the message to that is get an education, protect your family, and basically stay away from it because I think it's cliche, but crime doesn't pay. Basically,
that's really it. Like you see, a lot of guys these days, a lot of these young fellas seem to think that where the money is by buying good cocaine, washing it up with ammonia and getting the rocks. But I'm telling you, selling them to people with the state they are in the south of Ireland is too evil to be doing. And it's going to come back on them sooner or later. You get a couple of few rocks and you go to court and the judge sees ammonia, crack cocaine. Or he sees on the charge sheet diamorphine, which is the medical name for heroin. He sees that and you've had it. He's going to stick you in custody. You're not going to get bail. They're going to go to town on you. Do you understand? He finds out you're in court and sees a charge sheet. Okay. All right, bro.
Yes, totally understand, Scott. Thank you for coming on here again, mate. Brilliant messages for the young fellas that will be listening. A brilliant sort of philosophy on it all, and I wish you nothing but the best in regards to your book, your life. I wish you good karma. I hope good karma comes around, and I hope that everything that you put your mind into now, you're successful with. And that is the end of the podcast. And thank you very much for coming on, Scott. And peace.